Hello everyone and welcome to Tom's Comic Curios, where you'll hear about the comic books that no one else talks about. Now, so far on the show we've talked about comics from 1986, but today we're going to go back a year before the black and white comic book explosion to 1985, and we're going to talk about Charlie the Caveman from Fantasy General Comics. Just before we look at this cover, I want to say I have uploaded 3 videos in a row, counting this one. So I'll try to space them out better in the future, but I just felt like making videos. If you haven't had a chance, please do go and check out my video about the comic book Dimension Z, because Dimension Z is quite a phenomenal comic book. The artwork is phenomenal, and the story is just really something else. It's a very imaginative, creative story. So make sure you check out that video if you haven't already. Now, on to this comic, Charlie the Caveman. Let's look at the cover. First of all, it says Exploring Tomorrow's Dreams there. Now, that was the motto of Fantasy General Comics. But let's look at this artwork. Well, we see in the logo, we see a Charlie the Caveman up here, bashing with his club there, his caveman club. Now, he's part of the logo. See, when I first saw this, probably several times when I looked at this over the years, I thought there were 2 Charlie the Cavemans. And, and then I came to realize recently that Charlie is just part of the logo. There's only one Charlie the Caveman. And we see him here trying to bash some animals that look like cats, but I would imagine that they're squirrels, maybe flying squirrels, because that one's flying through the air. I don't know. We see a lumberjack ghost. And by the way, folks, don't bash animals. That's a terrible thing. This guy's a caveman, so I guess he doesn't know what cats or squirrels are, so he's just freaking out or something. There's a ghost of a lumberjack, and there is a woman on top of what looks like a car, a Volkswagen perhaps, that is a monster. So if you saw this comic book in 1985 on the stands, or if you saw it in a quarter bin or something, right? I believe I bought this online about 20 years ago, this comic book, because I saw the cover of it and I thought, wow, that is fascinating. I want to see what that comic's all about. Would you say the same thing? Would you say, I'm going to buy that because what is going on there? I must read that story. Because I did. So Fantasy General Comics was published by a man named Grant Fosse. All their comics are published by this man. And I believe he wrote all the titles, or just about all the titles in the line. The associate publishers were Eric Fosse and Russ Stark. Editor was Janet M. Strobel. The story, of course, for Charlie the Caveman was written by Grant Fosse. The artwork and letters are by Dwayne Gordner and Lynn Avery. And in the front of every Fantasy General comic, we see this mission statement by Grant Fosse. And what it says is this: Exploring Tomorrow's Dreams. We think that's an important statement here at Fantasy General. We're exploring the realms of fantasy, science fiction, science fantasy, yesteryear, and of course, tomorrow. Tomorrow brings us closer to the realities created from the excitement and adventures of the worlds of imagination, the stuff that dreams are made of. Worlds of adventure, the excitement of entertainment, with the powers of imagination. That's what our stories are made of. Here at Fantasy General, we're entertaining and exploring the imagination of tomorrow. Hold on, stand by. Take a tight grip. Your journey is about to begin. Stay alert. Don't blink, because in the flash of an eye, we'll be exploring tomorrow's dreams. So I found that editorial to be very generic in my opinion. It doesn't really give any specifics about what the titles are about, but we do find out that they are definitely committed to exploring fantasy stories, science fiction, and things like that. And sure enough, most of the titles from Fantasy General, the title of the company is Fantasy General, were of this nature. And I did have all of them at one point. There's one called Skellen Empire. There's one called Alpha Track, I believe. And there was Wizards, something about Wizards. I can't remember what it is. But I wasn't really taken, truthfully, with any of the titles. Sci-fi has never been my thing, and I did find them. They were all supposed to take part in this sort of epic universe or something, and I found it confusing. So I did sell those. I didn't keep those, but I did keep Charlie the Caveman because this one is something else. So it was supposed to come out monthly, but this is the only issue that was published. So let's go to the first page, and we see Charlie bamming away. Bam, 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 with his club. And it looks like he's in caveman times and prehistoric times here. And it says, Charlie follows his daily schedule of bamming his way through the prehistoric jungles of his home. Okay. As the noonday sun rises high into the sky, Charlie follows the trail of a baby dinosaur. Charlie sniffs the trail, then grinning, he bams his club. Bam, bam, bam. A pair of baby dinosaur eyes peer at Charlie through the tall weeds of the jungle. Those eyes sort of look like they're just floating in the air with nothing attached to them. Charlie's day goes by as he makes his way along the trail toward the location of the baby dinosaur. Now here we do see the baby dinosaur. Charlie's looking, he's scratching his head. And uh-oh, he's coming after the baby dinosaur, you see, with his club there. And it says, Charlie continues his bamming along the length of the trail. Then leaving out an uncertain grunt, he stops in his tracks. The bamming has come to a sudden halt. And he says, ooh. Okay, and he's like, whoops. Uh-oh. So he's just about to bam the baby dinosaur, but what's behind him? Oh, it looks like either the mother dinosaur or the father dinosaur. And they're not going to like that much that Charlie's trying to bash their child here. That's terrible. So Charlie quietly and timidly slides his club behind him, hiding it. And he's like, uh-oh. Hi. The baby dinosaur pokes his head up. And the dinosaur says, Roo. By the way, I don't think cavemen and dinosaurs existed at the same time, did they? You let me know in the comments. In the comments. Thank you. Charlie makes his escape, rushing between. Let me read that again. Charlie makes his escape, rushing between, through, and beyond the legs of the dinosaurs. I feel like I'm reading a really weird children's book, but this is just a weird comic book, though. Okay. Charlie continues on his journey home, but this time he's in a rush, and his club bounces behind him all the way. So he's running away, he's scared. Charlie rushes along the jungle trails, coming to a sudden halt. Comes to a halt, and he says, uh-oh. I do like the detail in the backgrounds there. I mean, the characters look pretty good. Okay. 5 angry cavemen stand in Charlie's path. With clubs swinging, they rush toward him. So we see them there in front of Charlie. With no time to waste, Charlie wraps a vine around the end of his club. Okay, he goes swinging up here. And then he lands with a big thump. 5 cavemen are coming after him. Swinging to the other side, Charlie drops down to the ground and rushes away. After an evening of bamming, Charlie retires to his cave. He's got a home sweet home sign on his cave. And then it says dwoop, and I'm not sure what that is. Then we see Charlie in his stone chair here in his cave. He's got like a leopard skin rug here. And he's sleeping. What is that? What is this? It looks like a shish kebab with, I don't know, 3 lights on it. Light bulbs like fused together. I don't know. A great wind blows across Charlie's cave, putting out the fire. Okay. Charlie's cave ices up, and Charlie covers up with the rug. So everything gets really cold. Oh, it's like the Ice Age or something coming. As Charlie sleeps, his beard gets longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. So he's sleeping for quite a long time then. And then he wakes up, and it looks like there's water everywhere. And this panel here, wow, that is crazy. That's like the door or something to his cave, and there's something happening, like lines coming from it. And it says, something's different. The jungle is gone. The ocean stretches for as far as he can see. The sands of the beach drawn from his hands. So it's like he went to sleep for a long time for some reason. And he's woken up and he's like, he's seeing the ocean and no jungle. Okay. He got the sand in his hands. It's slipping through his fingers. It says the sound of laughter fills the airwaves around him. Hey, haha, wait. Dragging his club behind him, Charlie heads down the beach. Okay, so he hears something. People laughing or something, and he goes down the beach and he sees something, but before we know what he sees, we see an ad for Terranauts here, dinosaur comic. That's pretty good artwork too. That's actually really good artwork for this Terranauts comic. Well, this is from Fantasy General. It's not written by Grant Fosse, so I guess not all their comics are written by him. It says this one's written by Don Seacrease and drawn by Paul Daly. So that is a very nicely drawn comic. And then we see an ad for the Skellen Empire, which was supposed to be a 12-part series, but only, I believe, only like a couple of issues at the most came out. And Wizard Works, that was one of their other comics. It was supposed to be 4 issues. I think only 1 or 2 issues of that came out. But they're, they were trying to start a whole empire, like a Marvel Comics, but on a lower, low budget scale. And then we have another ad for Alpha Track, another comic book that they published, which is also supposed to be 12 issues. This is issue 2, so it got up to issue 2 at least. But I know that they didn't pan out. I've noticed with a lot of these low budget companies of the time that they had very grand schemes and ideas and dreams, but a lot of times they didn't come to fruition. They would only get out a few issues before they went out of business. Okay, but let's go back to Charlie the Caveman. And now this is weird. It looks like he's ended up in 1985. So that would have been present day when this comic was published. So he was sleeping for a long, long time. And he's ended up in the middle of a volleyball game on the beach. It says several teenagers are in the midst of a volleyball game. Charlie watches intently. Then he sees the girl of his dreams. Okay, so Charlie sees a girl from the 1980s, and she's the girl of his dreams. And she says, "Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Traffic was backed up to Venus Boulevard." So this must be like California or something. So Charlie's very impressed by what he sees. And we see some of the other people playing volleyball. And at first it looks like that guy has two heads. But no, there's a guy standing behind another guy here. And one guy says, "Hi Ashley, where's that cute little friend of yours?" The other guy, or the other head on his shoulder, says, "Yeah, where's Linda?" And then the girl says, "Come on you guys, stop already." And there goes the volleyball. And, Charlie's watching here. Charlie watches the girl as she retrieves the volleyball. I just love this kind of artwork. It's so, I don't know. It's just kind of, well, it's like amateur artwork, but it's just always charming to see, what people just came up with. I mean, there's probably just working in his house, like doing this comic book, and and it's just neat. So that's probably the girl. Yeah, that's the girl on the cover because she's dressed the same way. Okay, so now we know who the girl is. Oh, Charlie's freaking out, it looks like. He starts bamming his club. Bam, bam, bam. He's like, ooh, ooh. He goes running. And it says, Charlie watches, waits, then he's off across the beach at full speed ahead. Then slam, wham, and bam. So he's just bamming his club around for some reason. And then thunk, a volleyball hits him on the head. And you see his expression there. He's like, oh, what's going on? Oof. Face down in the sand, the ball bounces on his head. Okay. Charlie shakes off the sand from his head, pulls his beard out from under him, and tosses it over his shoulder. Charlie searches over the beach looking for Ashley. Then he spots her hiding behind her VW Bug, so it is a Volkswagen. And for some reason, see, I can't figure this out. For some reason, her car is a monster. I mean, this is 1985, assumedly. So, there weren't monsters that looked like cars in 1985, right? So, I don't know. Like, maybe this would have been explained if the comic had gone on further, Probably would have been, actually. But then we see another ad for Radium and his intergalactic squad. I didn't see the other word there for a while. And this was another Fantasy General comic. You see, they were putting out a bunch of comics. Radium tells the story of 4 heroic adventurers who travel across time and space in Radium's flying wrench, the Centurion Traveler. Rushing off to save worlds and civilizations, Radium and his intergalactic Odd Squad risk life and limb to save a world from the conquest of an evil lizard. I feel like that one only had one issue too. Then another ad for Alpha Track. So a lot of ads for their other comics here. Let's go back to Charlie. So Charlie sees her captured by a massive automobile beast. The grip on his club tightens. So he sees this strange Volkswagen monster that she has. And I wonder, like, if he's imagining it just... maybe he's imagining it as a monster. I don't know if that's the case, but it would make sense, though, right? Because he's never seen a car before. He's a caveman. And he'd be scared, you know. He said, well, what is this, you know, what is this thing? You know, I've never... So maybe he thinks it's going to hurt her. So he comes after the car with his caveman club, and it says, letting out a terrifying scream, Charlie paces across the beach toward the RV, his club swinging in the air. Charlie rushes out across the parking lot toward the VW. Now, as he runs across the parking lot, we see, it looks like it's warm, like from the sun. You know, when in the summer, like the cement or whatever, the pavement gets really hot, and if you're in your bare feet, it's like, it's too hot. So that's what's happening to him. He's never felt that before. But the pavement scorches his bare feet. Oh, but then the Volkswagen is like he. So it looks like it... I don't know. It feels like it actually is alive. The VW is upon him. Oops. Okay. See, I mean, I don't think... He couldn't be imagining that, right? So it actually is a monster? This is very weird. Charlie quietly backs away. Ashley comes out of hiding. So then the girl says, oh, it's you, Charlie. What are you doing? She knows Charlie. You scared me. I haven't seen you in that getup for at least 200 issues. Okay, this is where it gets really weird. So it's obvious that Grant was, like with his other comics, was hoping this comic was going to last for a while. At least beyond one issue anyway, to tell this story. So there's some lore here that isn't really explained in this first issue. So, I mean, she knows Charlie already. She knows who he is, even though he just appeared there, and it seems like he doesn't know where he is, and he doesn't know who she is, or at least that's what it seemed like. And then she says, I haven't seen you dressed like that for at least 200 issues. So, are we to assume then, and that's breaking the fourth wall too, because she knows she's in a comic book. So, are we to assume that at this point in the Charlie the Caveman universe, it sounds funny saying that, that there's supposedly 200 issues before this. We're just supposed to imagine that that's the case. Let's continue. Well, he says, oh, hi, Ashley. So I guess Charlie does know her, too. So it's like we're starting in the middle of an epic story with the first issue. And she says, where's your three-piece suit? Okay, so apparently sometimes he dresses up formally. He goes to the Volkswagen and he says, hi, Jaws. So he knows this monster Volkswagen, too. He pats Jaws on the hood. So this is where the comic was losing me, you know. I was like, this is really weird, and it's not explained. So the VW snarls at Charlie as he pats the car's hood. Okay, now we see the lumberjack from the title. From the cover, I mean. And it says, the Ghost of Lumberjack George slides down the trunk of a nearby palm tree. See, this is really funny to me. So, we're introduced to this character, Lumberjack George, who's already a ghost. We're being introduced to him. We didn't even know him when he was a person, but he just comes right into it. And he says, "Hey, Charlie, Ashley, fancy meeting you guys here. Hi, Jaws, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? I haven't felt this good in years." So it really does feel like we're being thrown in the middle of a story that's been around for a long, long time, and we have no idea what's going on, which is a really weird way to start a first issue of a comic book. It's really fascinating. So the comic companions hop into the VW. Now that could be comic companions as in they are humorous companions, or it could be because they know they're in a comic book. Works two ways. So Charlie, it's funny Charlie can speak like perfect English too, but of course we don't know what happened in the non-existent 200 issues before this. So Charlie says, maybe we should stop over and pick up our latest issue. There's a possibility of a clue being in it. So she says, yeah, let's go. The VW races off through the street, screeching to a halt in front of the corner comic book store. Okay, so not only do they know they're in a comic book, but apparently they read their own comic book. This is getting more interesting as we go along. So they're going to a comic store, and look at this. They pick up an issue of Charlie the Caveman, and they're reading it. Ashley, the Ghost of George the Lumberjack, and Charlie. And it says they rush inside. Charlie says the pages are blank. And then she says, contest? And he says, contest? What contest? Which is weird because nobody's mentioned a contest. So it's weird how that's a weird dialogue too. And then Lumberjack George says, the further adventures of Charlie the Caveman. Okay, so I don't know what they're talking about. They just said, contest, what contest? And he said, the further adventures of Charlie the Caveman. The pages are blank. So this is fascinating because as readers, it seems like the author really wants us to fill in the blanks ourselves instead of telling us what's going on. It's like we're getting bits of a story and we're supposed to put it together. So they don't say what this contest is. So is it a contest to write Charlie the Caveman? I mean, it's not an actual contest because there's no contest page in the comic. So Charlie says, I think we'd better hit the road to our publishers and clear up this mess. The VW heads off, zipping onto the freeway. Okay, so I guess they're going to go to the publisher of their comic book, Charlie the Caveman, and find out something about a contest and why the pages are blank. That wouldn't sell well, I have to say. If your comic book is at the store and you just decide to publish all blank pages, I don't think that would be a hit. I don't think that would sell. So, unless you maybe a genius could market that as a do-it-yourself comic book, and it'll become like the next big thing. You never know. So, oh, no, this is weird. So they're going to go to the publishers. They zip off down the freeway, but then they end up at the beach again without any explanation at all. And Ashley says, you're right, this was a better idea. We never heard anybody broach that idea, but apparently they did. Again, I guess we have to just imagine that, fill in the blanks. And the Volkswagen is sitting in a chair on the beach, and he says, yeah. And Charlie is surfing. The lumberjack is waving his arms around. Yeah, the Volkswagen is in a beach chair, just sitting there. He's drinking oil. And it says, oh, look at this. It says, watch for Charlie's adventure contest coming soon. So there was supposed to be a contest. It says that at the bottom of the page. You see, comics like this, I can't just tell you about them because you wouldn't get the right you wouldn't get it, you wouldn't get the idea unless I actually read it to you. Because how could I explain this comic book? You have to read it to believe it. So yeah, this is one of the weirdest comic books in my collection. It is interesting. Then we have a Fantasy General Comics ad for all their comics, like Heavy Track, Alpha Track, one Imaginary Vision, which I don't think ever came out. The Radium Squad here, Charlie the Caveman, Future Course, Skeleton Empire, Wizard Works. A bunch of those did come out and lasted like a couple issues, like I said. And then a comic, again with great artwork, called Marauders of the Black Sun. I don't remember that one coming out, though. Not sure if that one did. And then an ad for Future Course on the back with a pretty good ad, actually. The Living Machine Chronicles. See, I felt this way about a lot of these Fantasy General comics when I had them, is that they were very confusing. That the stories, there's a lot that was unexplained in the stories, so they were kind of hard to follow. I might be wrong. I mean, it was a long, long time ago when I read these. So, pardon me if I'm wrong, but that's how I seem to remember it. I do know that Grant Fosse had another publishing company in the 1990s when he tried to start up some of these titles again. Unfortunately, Charlie the Caveman was not one of them, but some of those other titles were, and I don't think that company lasted very long either. But I'm not sure. I don't know as much about that company. So this one was around from about 85 to 86, the company itself. But yeah, only one issue of Charlie the Caveman. So I would love for you, for anybody watching this video, to write your comments about what you thought about this comic book. Maybe your interpretations of what was going on in the story. I mean, it was fairly self-explanatory and easy to follow for the first half, but then it got really weird. And it is so random to me that there's a Ghost of a Lumberjack. That is just bizarre. The Volkswagen monster car is a bizarre thing too. But anyway, that is Charlie the Caveman. I'm looking forward to seeing people's comments about this. I don't think anybody's done a review of this comic book online. I do remember seeing a post about it when I looked it up online. There was a post about it in a forum where they were just talking about strange comic books, but I don't know if anybody went into detail about it. So yeah, this is a very obscure, unheard of comic book. So I hope you enjoyed this experience, because I love sharing weird comic books like this with you, as well as really great titles that I think you should know about. This was just a fun oddity. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time, everybody.